In the quiet heart of Utah's desert, far from the tourist routes and ski resorts, a remote refining facility runs almost silently. Surrounded by flat land and distant mountains, the structure looks unremarkable until you step inside. Every month, this facility transforms 5,000 pounds of raw, unprocessed gold into one of the purest forms of bullion used in the global jewelry, technology, and financial industries. And the entire operation is handled by just 11 men and 2 highly specialized machines. The process begins with truckloads of ore arriving from nearby mines. The gold in these rocks isn't visible to the naked eye. It's trapped inside tons of earth, requiring precise steps to extract. Once offloaded, the raw material is fed into a powerful crushing system, the first of 2 machines that make this operation possible. The crusher grinds the rock into fine dust, reducing massive boulders to a soft gray powder within minutes. Each load produces enough dust to fill industrial-sized containers, but only a fraction contains gold. The dust is then moved into vats where chemical leaching begins. This phase separates the gold from the surrounding minerals using a tightly regulated solution of cyanide and oxygen. It's a delicate balance, too much or too little of any component, and the process fails. Here, the knowledge of the 11-man crew becomes essential. They don't just operate the equipment. They watch for slight shifts in color, temperature, or flow. Their attention can mean the difference between a full yield and thousands of dollars lost. Once the gold-rich solution is separated, it's pumped into the second machine, an electrowinning cell. This device uses electrical currents to pull the gold out of the liquid, depositing it as soft, sponge-like metal on steel plates. The team then carefully removes these gold cakes by hand and weighs them before passing them into a furnace. This step transforms the fragile metal into dense, shining gold bars. Each bar is cast at over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit and cooled slowly to avoid cracking. At full capacity, the facility can produce up to 165 gold bars per month. The men behind this operation are not typical factory workers. Many have backgrounds in geology, chemistry, or metallurgy. Most have worked here for over a decade. There are no supervisors shouting instructions. Each worker knows his role, timing, and margin. For error, some days are spent monitoring gauges and adjusting chemical levels by mere milliliters. Other days, they're in protective suits, pulling blistering hot molds from the furnace. But no matter the task, the goal is the same: perfection in every ounce of gold refined. Despite the modern equipment, nearly half of the process still relies on hands-on judgment. The machines provide speed and power, but the men provide nuance and precision. And while automation has taken over in many other refineries, this facility has resisted fully replacing human skill. Their results speak for themselves: bars that are consistently over 99.99% pure, sought after by investors, electronics companies, and global banks. Each shipment of gold is recorded, certified, and locked into armored vehicles under tight security. The value of what leaves this facility monthly often exceeds $15 million. And yet, it all starts with piles of dull, lifeless rock unloaded onto a dusty floor by a single forklift. From there, it's science, sweat, and expertise that turns raw earth into one of the world's most coveted assets. While most people imagine gold mining as pickaxes and panning in mountain streams, the reality in Utah is a high-precision, methodical process. After each gold bar is cooled and solidified, the surface is inspected for imperfections. Even the slightest crack or air pocket can compromise the bar's structural integrity or affect its purity certification. That's why every bar is reheated slightly and cooled again under controlled conditions before being weighed, stamped, and approved. Each one is labeled with a unique code that traces it back to its origin point, not just the mine, but the exact batch of crushed ore it came. From DOT, the team handles all this without a single misstep. Errors here aren't just costly. They can invalidate entire batches. That's why these 11 men train for months before they're even allowed to participate in the final casting stages. The knowledge is passed down internally, not taught in schools. It's a craft built over decades, refined like the gold itself. One of the youngest technicians, now 33, learned the trade from his father, who spent 27 years in the same facility. Every movement, from pouring molten gold to cleaning the molds, follows strict timing, often measured to the second. Once bars are approved, they enter a secure vault until enough weight has been accumulated for shipment. This can take days, depending on mining output and machine efficiency. But while the vault stores physical gold, the real value lies in the trust placed on this facility's results. Buyers across the country, including government contractors and aerospace manufacturers, rely on the purity delivered here. The slightest inconsistency can mean failed quality audits. So the team runs constant checks using X-ray fluorescence scanners and fire assays, a centuries-old method still considered the gold standard of metal testing. On one wall hangs a board showing the monthly yield. Each month, the goal is the same: 5,000 pounds of pure gold. But some months, it's more. When mine output increases or the ore is richer than usual, the team races against the clock to maintain their schedule. In those moments, the two machines run nearly non-stop, one pulverizing rock while the other pulls fine gold from solution. And through it all, the facility hums with a low, constant vibration, broken only by the occasional clang of steel or hiss of the furnace. What surprises most visitors isn't the amount of gold produced, but the silence. There's no chaos, no shouting, no mechanical screaming. Just focused hands, precise movements, and a quiet understanding among the team. Outside, the wind kicks up dust across the gravel lot. Inside, gold worth millions is being created from what once looked like rubble. The contrast couldn't be sharper or more symbolic of the transformation happening here every day, Don. But for all the discipline and order, things don't always go smoothly. One of the refining machines has been in operation for nearly 17 years. Rebuilt twice and patched more times than the team can count. It's a risk they live with daily. A single breakdown can halt the entire line. And with global demand rising, even an hour of lost time can ripple through weeks of scheduling. That's why maintenance is as much a part of the operation as the refining itself. Every bolt, pipe, and circuit is checked weekly, with repairs carried out after hours to avoid disruption. And yet, despite the aging equipment, the facility has never missed its monthly quota. That consistency, achieved by such a small crew, is what truly sets it apart. They don't just refine gold, they refine reliability. The facility's success isn't just measured in bars of gold, it's measured in reputation. Over the years, it has quietly become one of the most trusted refining sites in the western United States. Government audits, third-party purity checks, and random inspections have all consistently confirmed what insiders already know. The process here is remarkably consistent. But while outsiders see only the end product, the real discipline lies in the upstream control of variables, how each type of ore is treated slightly differently, depending on its mineral profile, density, and even moisture content from recent weather conditions at the mine. The crew adapts in real time. If the ore arrives damp from snowmelt or unusually dry from summer heat, it affects how it's crushed, how it reacts to the leaching chemicals, and how quickly the gold can be recovered. There is no single recipe that works for every batch. This is why the team spends the first hour of every shift analyzing the incoming material, sometimes with handheld sensors, sometimes just with their eyes and experience. They adjust temperature thresholds, pH balances, and even machine speeds manually before the work begins. It's a process as much about intuition as it is about science. One technician, known simply as Marcus, has an almost uncanny ability to predict how a batch will behave. His estimates of final yield are usually within 5% accuracy, just from smelling the dust and feeling its weight in his hands. He doesn't talk much, but when he does, the others listen. He once halted a run halfway through, claiming something was off. Turns out, a valve had jammed, diluting the chemical concentration in the leaching vat. If he hadn't stopped it, they would have lost nearly 40 pounds of extractable gold. Such moments aren't rare, and they're part of why this team works the way it does. Slowly, deliberately, without shortcuts. They're aware that what they're handling isn't just metal, but economic value at a massive scale. 1 cubic foot of gold weighs more than 1,200 pounds and is worth over $25 million at today's prices. When you're pouring that into molds by hand, even a small splash can be dangerous. Physically and financially. Security is also taken seriously, but not in the way people expect. There are no guards with rifles or walls topped with barbed wire. Instead, the building is built like a vault. Walls are reinforced concrete. Doors are triple locked. No one moves gold alone. Every transfer is done in pairs, with constant logging. There are no blind spots. And still, the atmosphere isn't tense. It's quiet, focused, procedural. Everyone understands their responsibility. Once a week, shipments are prepared for armored transport. The bars are packed and reinforced. Crates, each with internal GPS tags and tamper-proof seals. A third-party logistics company specializing in high-value metals picks them up under tight schedule. Before they leave, each bar is photographed, weighed again, and cross-checked with digital records. The destination varies, sometimes New York, sometimes overseas, but the process never does. Occasionally, the facility also handles custom jobs. Private investors, foreign clients, or even artists commission small batches of gold to be refined for specific purposes. These are always done separately, with documentation and under different settings to avoid contamination. In one case, a renowned sculptor requested a 24-carat base material to build a series of pieces for a museum in Geneva. The order required modifications to cooling speeds and bar sizes, which the team handled flawlessly over 3 days. These custom projects bring in additional revenue, but also put the team under a different kind of pressure. Unlike bulk orders, these clients expect perfection in form as well as content. One bar slightly misaligned, and the whole batch may be rejected. Yet the crew treats every project, big or small, with the same level of scrutiny. Despite the routine, each member knows they are part of something rare. In an era of automation and scale, this facility has found a way to preserve the human element without sacrificing output. The machines do the heavy lifting, but it's the decisions made in between, the judgment calls, the micro adjustments that define the operation. It's not just how gold is refined. It's how trust is earned. For most viewers, it's hard to imagine that so much gold can come from such an unassuming building tucked away in the hills of Utah. There's no flashing side, no industrial skyline. From the outside, it could pass for a farm warehouse or a water treatment station. But inside, every inch is optimized for performance. From the layout of the refining vats to the sealing vents that filter out microscopic particles. The floors are coated in a specialized resin to prevent chemical corrosion, and even the air is monitored for dust levels, not for health concerns, but because airborne gold can mean measurable loss over time. The entire operation runs on a delicate balance of chemistry, temperature control, and human judgment. One of the most critical and least visible parts of the process is what happens after the gold has been extracted and melted. Residual materials like silver, copper, and trace elements are carefully filtered and collected, not discarded. These byproducts, when properly handled, can generate thousands in additional income each month. Nothing is wasted. Even the sludge at the bottom of the vats goes through secondary screening before disposal, in case flecks of unrefined gold are hidden within. Some months, this secondary process alone accounts for more than 200 pounds of additional recoverable material, a margin that keeps the facility well above its break-even point. Over time, these refinements have turned what was once a basic operation into a highly efficient economic engine. The original founders never imagined such scalability when the plant first opened. Back then, it was just a regional refinery, servicing 2 local mines and employing only 5 men. Today, those same 2 mines supply only a third of the ore processed. On Site. What allowed this expansion wasn't just technology, but trust. Mining companies from neighboring states began sending their raw output here after realizing that the yield was often higher than from larger industrial centers. The difference wasn't the equipment, it was the care taken at each step. Other facilities rushed to meet quotas. This one focused on recovery rate, even if it meant working slower. Over time, that reputation grew. Today, ore comes in from Colorado, Nevada, and even parts of northern Arizona, shipped weekly in sealed drums and tracked with full chain custody logs. Inside the lab, every new sample is tested for gold concentration and impurities. Technicians log each reading into a database that calculates expected output before refining even begins. If a shipment tests unusually low, the mining partner is alerted. The lab even shares recovery efficiency reports back to the mines so they can improve upstream extraction. It's a collaborative loop, rare in an industry often defined by secrecy and competition. There's also a human story that runs beneath all this metal and machinery. Among the 11 men working the plant, 4 are veterans, 2 are second generation miners, and 1 is an ex-chemist who left a pharmaceutical lab in Salt Lake City to work with metals instead of molecules. Most live within 30 miles of the facility. They know each other's families, kids, and habits. Birthdays are remembered. Coffee is always fresh. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. And for many of them, it's the kind of stability they never thought they'd find again. In a recent company meeting, the team reviewed the year's yield, nearly 61,000 pounds of pure gold, matching targets with less than 0.1% deviation. One supervisor quietly mentioned that they had now refined enough gold in the past 12 years to cover the Statue of Liberty in solid metal nearly 13 times over. It was a joke, but the numbers checked out. The men laughed, but their pride was visible, because behind every metric, every weight log, and every sealed crate, there's a deeper truth. They've built something few people ever see, a system that works, day after day, because people care about getting it right. And even as markets fluctuate, equipment ages, and the world turns toward automation, this little team in Utah holds steady. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because to them, this isn't just refining gold. It's refining purpose, discipline, and the kind of legacy you don't measure in dollars. Outside the plant, the landscape remains quiet. Just desert ridges and a strip of road that disappears into the canyon. No noise, no signs of industry, unless you know where to look. That's part of what protects this place. It's hidden in plain sight, operating without spectacle. The workers like it that way. No tours, no influencers, no press releases. Just output. Pure, precise, and unbroken. But while most people never think about where their gold comes from, the truth is that sites like this one are the backbone of the American metal supply chain. Not just for jewelry or bullion, but for aerospace, electronics, and even medicine. NASA orders refined gold to coat satellite components. Medical suppliers use it for implants and diagnostics. Even high-speed computing depends on its thermal conductivity. It's more than just a precious metal. It's infrastructure in elemental form. This is why the team is obsessive about purity. Every bar that leaves the facility is stamped with its carat rating, melt batch number, and a digital trace ID. The bars are weighed to 3 decimal places. When clients receive their orders, they know exactly what they're getting, down to the molecular level. In an industry full of corners cut and standards stretched, that kind of precision builds loyalty. The economic impact of the refinery also extends beyond the gold itself. Local suppliers benefit, from the fuel delivery companies to the water treatment specialists and the contractors who repair ventilation systems. Even the local diner a few miles down the road has a breakfast combo named after the plant. The operation, while small in workforce, feeds an ecosystem that supports hundreds of jobs indirectly. And it's not just industry insiders who take notice. Once a year, a quiet but important audit takes place. Representatives from national standards agencies visit the site, not to penalize, but to observe. They walk the perimeter, inspect the logs, test a few samples, and leave with little comment. The team doesn't worry. They know what they're doing. And year after year, the facility passes, not just technically, but with commendations for procedural excellence. It's this quiet, consistent excellence that makes the operation so rare. There are faster refineries, bigger ones, flashier, ones with glossy videos and automated everything, but none quite like this. Here, machines assist but never replace. Protocols are followed not because they're required, but because they've proven to work. It's an old-school ethic, wrapped in modern precision, and it's working. Perhaps the most telling thing is what happens when the shift ends. There are no cheers, no high-fives, just quiet lockups, quick log checks, and doors clicked shut behind steel. The team heads home without ceremony. No one needs to say what they've done. The vault holds the answer. The data backs it. And tomorrow, they'll do it again. Another 200 pounds. Another load of raw potential, refined into certainty. In a world moving faster every day, this plant remains steady. 11 men, 2 machines, 5,000 pounds of gold every single month. And behind it all, a discipline that doesn't show off, but delivers bar after bar, ounce after ounce, story after story.